Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. It's the beginning of the week, Monday, September 22nd, 2025, day 717. I have lots of updates coming out of the weekend as the UN General Assembly, two-state conference began today. I have updates from Gaza and the broader Middle East. In Gaza, Israeli forces yesterday blew up residential buildings in Gaza City. At least 40 Palestinians were killed. Many others were prompted to flee. That's according to health officials. And the death toll of the last 24 hours, coming from Israeli news sources, is that at least 61 people in Gaza were killed. The Israeli Defense Forces said it killed 15 Hamas militants across Gaza on Sunday, and 2 Gaza hospitals were forced to stop their operations as the Israeli offensive has escalated. That's because of damage due to continued Israeli bombing. Tanks are advancing deeper into the territory and specifically in Gaza City. The ministry said in its statement that the Al-Rantisi Children's Hospital was badly damaged last week by Israeli bombardment. At the same time, it reported Israeli attacks in the vicinity of a nearby eye hospital, which was also forced to suspend its services. The occupation deliberately and systematically targets healthcare systems in Gaza as a part of its genocidal policy against the Strip, said the statement from the health ministry. None of the facilities or hospitals have safe access routes that allow patients and the wounded to reach them. Israel yesterday kept the main border for Palestinians to cross from the occupied West Bank into Jordan closed. This was just days after a Jordanian truck driver killed 2 Israeli soldiers. It's not clear when the Israeli Airport Authority, which oversees the crossing, plans to reopen the route. Hamas has released a video of an Israeli hostage, Alon Ohel. Ohel's family requested that no photos or portions of the video be played at this time. This was a second recording after one was shown recently and released by Hamas alongside an additional hostage, Guy Gilboa Dalal, that was earlier this month. According to family, specialists have concluded that Alon cannot see with his right eye. He has frequent blinking, which indicates a serious difficulty focusing and seeing for long periods of time. We know also that Hamas executed 3 Gazans who were suspected of cooperation with Israel. They were shot dead outside of the Shifa hospital in Gaza City. Hamas also drafted a personal letter to U.S. President Donald Trump offering the release of half of the hostages in exchange for a 60-day ceasefire agreement. Fox News reported this. The Hamas letter was handed over to the Qataris. It's expected to be personally delivered to President Trump later this week. Officials reportedly hope the letter will revive ceasefire and hostage talk negotiations to get Trump involved in the negotiation efforts as Israeli forces continue their ground invasion in Gaza City. I wanted to give you a bit of a detailed update on the occupied West Bank because of an incident that happened with someone that we know. This is Jewish activist Rabbi Eric Asherman. Eric Asherman, we used to work with him closely when he was at Rabbis for Human Rights, but the police detained him after he called for help in response to armed settler attacks in the West Bank. He was accused of distorting reality. So this happened in a village that's been a site of numerous settler raids with an off-duty IDF soldier, where an IDF off-duty soldier fatally shot a Palestinian man last August. This August, Asherman was arrested on charges of harassment, incitement, illegal construction, obstructing a police officer. According to footage that shows the incident, it said that 2 hours earlier, the rabbi uploaded footage of 2 settlers, one armed with an IDF weapon, herding sheep between villagers' homes. Police said in response that they arrived at the scene after the call, but they did not mention that they had actually detained the caller, Eric Asherman. In the footage, Asherman is seen asking police officers, "Aren't you going to arrest them? Do you believe them and not me?" And those soldiers said, "Yes, yes." Following the arrest, the police accused Asherman of filing false and unfounded calls and in a systemic attempt to incite, provoke, and distort reality. According to the statement by police officers, they were forced to reach him for the 3rd time after false reports that they did not find any basis of in the field. In addition, he was arrested after he was suspected of attacking a shepherd who's currently filing a complaint with the police. It can only be ascertained that that shepherd was a settler. In other news, the Israeli Defense Forces have said that they will demolish the homes of the terrorist who killed the 6 people in Jerusalem. So this was just announced. This is the family homes of the people who are accused in that terrorist attack that killed 6 people in Jerusalem earlier this month. The IDF also raided Birzeit University in the West Bank and arrested a Palestinian academic in Hebron. That was on Sunday night. And the UK has warned Israel not to annex the West Bank in retaliation for their recognition of a Palestinian state. Meanwhile, in Israel, protests have continued in front of Netanyahu's home, this time in the form of prayer. There was a prayer protest held outside of his residence in Jerusalem. Netanyahu has asked the Trump administration to put pressure on Egypt for Cairo to scale down a recent military buildup that's in the Sinai Peninsula. Netanyahu claimed Egypt is carrying out activities that amounted to substantial violations of the 1979 peace agreement with Israel. The U.S. is a guarantor. Just to note, Egypt has claimed that Israel is in violation of that same peace agreement because Israel took over control of the Philadelphia corridor in the Gaza Strip, and they also have taken over control of the Rafah border crossing. TRT World, a Turkish news outlet, reported that Israeli police arrested a former member of the Knesset. This is a Palestinian citizen of the state of Israel. Her name is Hanin Zoabi. She was a member of the Israeli Knesset. She was arrested on September 21st, yesterday, being accused of incitement to terrorism. This is over a speech that she gave in 2024 that was pro-Palestinian and given in Vienna. Police raided her home in Nazareth before they took her in for questioning. Her lawyer says the arrest is unlawful, politically driven. They're accusing Ben-Gvir of turning the case into a media spectacle. She served in parliament for 10 years, from 2009 to 2019. She's known for her outspoken opposition to Israel's discriminatory policies towards Palestinians. Meanwhile, an Israeli strike on South Lebanon yesterday killed 5 people, including 3 children. Lebanon's Speaker of the Parliament, Nabih Berri, claimed in a statement yesterday that 4 U.S. citizens were actually killed in the strike. A State Department said that the situation is fluid, and indications that the 5 people who were killed were not U.S. citizens. The IDF posted it had struck and eliminated a Hezbollah operator and acknowledged that several uninvolved civilians were also killed. In Syria, a newspaper in Yemen stated that 31 journalists were killed in a strike, and the press freedom group is speaking out. This is the deadliest strike on journalists in the Middle East. The Israelis said that they were targeting public relations headquarters of Yemen's Houthi rebels. Israel's UN envoy has said, related to Syria, that they're waiting for al-Shara's response on that whole Israel-Syria security deal that I talked about last week. Qatar has said they want an apology from Israel for the strike on Doha before they resume mediation on a Gaza peace deal. And there's been lots of activities around Iran, particularly related to the UN Security Council gathering in New York this week. The UN Security Council decided on Friday to implement snapback sanctions on Iran, and the State Department has also restricted the movement of Iranian delegates who are at the United Nations. No shopping sprees for those clerical elites, the U.S. has said. Iran says it's time for the West to choose between cooperation or confrontation. They believe diplomacy can resolve the decades-long dispute with the West over Tehran's nuclear ambitions. And Netanyahu minister has vowed to destroy an Iranian axis in the new year. Netanyahu and his team have said that Rosh Hashanah, as they were giving a toast, this was at a general staff forum meeting in the IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv, they toasted to destroying the Iranian axis. This was also attended by the Defense Minister Katz and IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir. At the United Nations, the General Assembly on Friday voted to allow President Abbas to speak. That happened today via video. He said Hamas and other factions must surrender their weapons to the Palestinian Authority. There's a lot to know as the UN summit has begun today on the question of Palestine. On September 12th, the General Assembly adopted what's called the New York Declaration. This followed the conference that was facilitated, co-hosted by France and Saudi Arabia. The New York Declaration calls for a just and lasting peace grounded in international law based on the two-state solution. To end the war, it urged Hamas to end its role in Gaza, hand over weapons to the PA. So that summit today was building on that momentum. France led the way, and Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, opened the conference advocating for a two-state solution, calling for the release of 48 hostages, ending the war, the massacre, and displacement in Gaza. Nothing justifies the continuous war in Gaza, he said. We must pave the way for peace. This is Macron. We must do everything within our power to preserve the very possibility of a two-state solution, Israel and Palestine side by side, with peace and security. This drew lengthy applause from the audience. The UK, Canada, Australia, Portugal yesterday announced they now formally recognize Palestinian statehood. So that was significant leading in to the beginning of that two-state solution conference today as the UN General Assembly meets later this week. Andorra became the 6th nation to formally recognize Palestine during the UN conference, and Singapore has said they're going to sanction Israeli settler leaders and that they do support Palestinian statehood under the right conditions. Turkish President Erdogan spoke at that UN conference on Palestine and accused Israel of genocide and of seeking to make Palestinian statehood impossible. Once victimized by the Holocaust, Israel now commits genocide against their neighbors, he said. Meanwhile, in Italy, clashes have broken out in Milan as Italian workers have taken strike, protesting in solidarity with Gaza. In the U.S., the Trump administration is seeking congressional approval to sell $6 billion to Israel. This would be for military arms sales paid to the U.S., provided foreign military financing. This would not be delivered for the next 2 to 3 years. President Trump also will be meeting with Arab and Muslim leaders tomorrow on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly meeting to discuss ending the war in Gaza. And tonight in Israel, it was reported by Axios about that meeting that Trump will present Arab leaders with a U.S. proposal for what ending the war could look like. 2 U.S. officials and Arab officials were cited in this report. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia, and Pakistan are all participating in the meeting. In addition to freeing hostages and ending the war, Trump is expected to discuss principles around Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and post-war governance in Gaza without Hamas's involvement. The U.S. wants Arab and Muslim countries to agree to send military forces to Gaza to enable Israel to withdraw and secure Arab and Muslim funding for a transition and rebuilding. The U.S. has also eyed blanket sanctions on the International Criminal Court over Gaza war crime probes. They're considering those sanctions as soon as this week against the ICC because of the ICC's investigations of suspected war crimes by Israel. Finally, I wanted to let you know that Father Gabriele Romanelli, the priest of the Holy Family Parish in Gaza, shared a video message of joy after he received a call from Pope Leo XIV. This was following Israel's order for residents to evacuate Gaza City. He said, "We told him we're well, even if the situation remains difficult." Father Romanelli is Argentinian. He said the Pope gave us his blessing, prayed for us, and for peace. He follows all the news very closely and is committed to ending the war. The Holy Family Parish, the Catholic Church in Gaza, continues to shelter around 450 displaced people, including elderly, the sick, and children. Most of the population does not want to leave, Father Romanelli explained. Everywhere there is danger, but many want to remain in the city. We will try to accompany them as much as we can. May God go before us in our efforts towards peace. In the name of Christ, amen.